Rajim. Welcome to the lecture series on soil. Previously, we discussed physical weathering with respect to temperature. This time, this video belongs to wind, to water, wind, ice, salt, and fire as a part B of the previous lecture. Water and frost. Water acts in two ways. Water as a rain, flood, stream, or river water has tremendous eroding and transporting power to loosen, to break, to tear away the soil material. The shifting, salting, and rolling of particles causes abrasion and collision of particles. Abrasion means that is abraded against the soil surface. Collision means in a solution form or in a suspension form, particles collide with each other. So during this abrasion and collision, particles further break down. Sediment loaded water has tremendous power to cut the land surfaces, stream, and river banks. The presence of gorges, ravines, valleys are the example of the activity of the water. The rounding of the disintegrated particle and sand is an evidence of abrasions during movement. Rainwater, snowmelt water act similarly. The presence of rounded particles and stones is an indicator of the water transportation. You can see that these heavy stones coming from the Gilgit and beginning of the river Indus, they are angular, D-shaped, different, but when they reach to our area in Mardan, Attak area, you can see all stones are rounded, goal होते हैं या flat होते हैं. So this, the degree of roundness and the fineness tells how far the material has been dragged or rolled from its place of origin, and ultimately this water reaches to a sea level where probably hardly you can find stone, only sandy material, silty material is there. This is an example of frost hydrothermal force at the Babusar top. You can see the cracked material is there. This is not moved. This is residual type. Cracking occurs. Exfoliation may also occur. So the water hydro plus the temperature changes, that causes this kind of breakdown of the rocky material. Hydrothermal force, water disintegrates the parent material through this hydrothermal force. Water expands by about 9% on freezing at 0 degrees centigrade. So whenever water freezes, it expands. This expansion has tremendous force pushing up loose matter on the rock. Let me give you an example. If you put some water in a glass or in a bottle and keep in a freezer, and if it has no capacity, when it cools, freezes, the bottle breaks. This is how, because of the volume. So water which is present in the cracks, crevices of the parent material, this included water expands on freezing, especially in high altitude area or in a cold area like Mari Kaghan, Swat, Dir, Chitral, Gilgit, Hunza, which whenever it expands in the crevices, so it has a tremendous force. This force widens these cracks. This force pushes out material from the cracks to the outer side. This force is almost equal to about 50 tons per square foot, or you can say 1465 metric tons megagrams per meter square. This is a very high pressure which cannot be resisted by the rocky material. A theoretical pressure of several thousand pounds per square inch is possible at lower temperature. For example, 30,000 pounds per inch force would occur, expansion would occur at minus 22 degrees centigrade, which is far greater than the binding strength of the rock. Rock, whenever what is there within the crevices, within the hole, within the loose material, as I showed you in the early material, all this would be cracked, moved up. Irresistible pressure widens the cracks to dislodge the mineral grains from uh, smaller fragments. Alternate freezing and thawing is also an effective force. Areas where temperature diurnally or seasonally changes, freezes and thawing occurs, melting occurs. This alternating freezing thawing actions are important in changing the physical conditions of rock due to physical pressure. Medium and fine texture soils are more susceptible. They can be pushed up. Wedge-like action of sharp and angular shaped ice crystals within the cracks also widens the cracks. So whenever ice formation occurs, so ice crystals are sharp. These sharp crystals, they also cause penetration, or you can say lifting up of the loose material. Frost shattering also takes place in cracks or crevices. Frost shattering, whenever at night there is a frost, cooling occurs, the upper surfaces, they crack, and if cracks are there, they would cause material to move out of the cracks because it would be pulled up, and when pulled up, then during daytime a little bit temperature rises, so water would melt and raised material would be left there. Third agent is the wind. Wind is an important transporting agency. You can see whenever there is a wind, so wind carries particles, dust. It can carry, roll on even stones, papers, whatever comes in. So sand material. So loaded wind with soil particle has an abrasive action. During wind transport, the particles show collisions, abrasions. It would show abrasions because if the particles are heavier or wind is slow moving along a surface area, so it causes abrasion. Whenever it is strong and particle is small, when the wind picks up particles, so they collide among themselves, and this causes again the breakdown of the material. Wind also exposes the rock material by shifting, surface material by shifting. Wind removes the material, the loose material, so exposes the hard bedrock material, which further promotes weathering by other agencies, by other actions. In a sandy deserts, always these people, they hide their face, leaving only small space for the eyes to see. Turbines are there. This is because of the heat, and this is because of the windy situation, because wind dunes, they keep on moving from one place to another place. This is a situation. You can see two examples. One in the Nala Desert in Pakistan, that is the Thar area. You can see the roots have been washed away, the sand has been washed away, and the other is the Cholistan deserts, where reefs and rills are there of the dunes. This is moving dunes are there. Overlying rock surface is thinned by erosion. Again, this is another aspect. Whenever erosion occurs, thin layer which is present on the rocky surface, that is removed. When this is removed, then the pressure, confining pressure, that is the pressure of the material which is lying on the rock, that decreases. So the rock may become susceptible. Internal stress then sets up in the rock is relieved by elastic expansion of the rock. The expansion of the rock eventually ruptures and produces cracks parallel to the surface of the rocks. This is again due to the action of the wind. This you can see another example that a rock is there. Since rock is composed of different materials, the resistant part in the form of a dome at the top is there. You can see this one, and this is the resistant part. This is less resistant, so remove of the material has occurred and this has been exposed. Cracks haven't been developed. These cracks during alternate freezing or wetting, or when they accumulate water, definitely they would widen by the temperature, by the hydrothermal force. So again you can see wind, water, they cause widening of the material. Combined physical impact. In this case, all the forces are there. Combined physical, chemical, action of wind, rain, temperature weathers this rock. Such rocks you can see when moving towards Banu area, also along Karak sides road, and also near the crossing after Hassan Abdal moving to Pindi, one can see such weather rocks. You can see these are the resistant part of the rock. Either they have been moved either by the wind or by the rain, by the temperature, or by a combination of all of them. Ice and glaciers. This ice and glaciers, they definitely work in the high mountain area where glaciation occurs. Glaciers ice detach because they have a tremendous weight in a solid form. They detach, drag, transport the eroded material downwards in glaciated regions. Gilgit, Hunza, Swat, Dir, Skardu, Baltistan, parts of Balochistan, Ziyarat area. The abrasive action of the glacier during their movement disintegrates the rocks due to their weight. Because this moving glacier is too heavy, when it moves along a slope, it disintegrates, breaks material. Smoothing of the surface occurs. Whenever a glacier has passed through an area, the leaving behind a trail is there. That trail is filled with material, and also the loose material is moved down. So glaciers grind and mix unconsolidated material. Movement of soil by the glacier or by the ice masses is a mixture of plant, stones, boulders, sand, fine material. It does not salt out. Water causes saltation, wind causes saltation, but glaciers don't cause. They would bring down whatever comes in its way. The trees, the shrubs, the forest, house, animal, whatever it is, and they would be moved in a mixture. Glaciers drag down whatsoever may come in their passage, which is ultimately deposited at the foot hills or at the foot of the mountain in the form of a moraine. So further movement is not possible due to gravitational force, because along a slope it has come down, reached to the basal part of the rock, basal part of the mountain, or where slope ends, then it remains there. The water melts then. It starts melting. When it melts, the final materials which can be carried out by the water, they would be moved, leaving behind larger stones, sand, or boulders. They would be there. You can see in this picture that glacier movement has started from the top and it has reached to the bottom. This is known as moraine. You can see larger particles are there, final particles, they have moved down. So this is again during this moving collision occurs, breakdown the occurs. This is a picture of the Hormang Valley or district in Gilgit-Baltistan. This is again another view of rock weathering by ice, water and salt. This picture shows a moraine is there. Glacier has moved. This has reached to the foothills and it has been deposited. Now this water is moving. You can see a little bit river here. So all this has been moved from the glaciers deposited here. In the nearby picture, which is a picture of the salt mines of the Bahadur Khel salt mines. Mine is not visible here, but you can see the water soluble material in salt has been carried out to along the slope, a long distance, and this water body, this place is near on the road. This is a bridge. It moves down to bridge, and the salt is spread to far off places. As long as the water is moving, that would be there. So this is again growth of salt crystals from solution in porous rock causes breakdown in many ways. When solution occurs of a certain salt, maybe sodium chloride, phosphate, rock phosphate, or some other chemicals, calcium, calcites, that disintegrates, chemically change would occur. The crystal growth creates rupturing pressure such as crystallization of calcium carbonate, gypsum from saline solution. Solvent action and hydrothermal forces are much higher than those of rocks. So increased volume of hydrated salt and clay particles produces strong pressure on the disintegrated rocks or disintegration of the rock material. Fire is another factor that also causes weathering. Let me give you an example that heat which is produced by temperature, and in some cases this is not very common in Pakistan, but in other countries, the chaparral vegetation, maki vegetation, in Australia, America, in Turkey, China, after few years, forest catches fire. Rocks, since they are poor conductor of heat, therefore during fire, a very steep gradient develops from surface to the inner layer of the rocks. Surface layer is heated, it expands, lower layer beneath it, they are still a little bit cooler or has a lesser temperature. So there is a differential pressure and shear force. The upper layer and the lower layer, they cannot keep pace with each other. Similarly, when loss of heat is there, again this is the reverse. Upper surface becomes cooler due to the quick loss from the surface, and the lower now remains a little bit warmer. Again differential heat pressure is there. The outer thin heated layer eventually separates from the parent material in a rocky area. Repeated fires in forest, even after 100 years or more, can break the rock surfaces. This process is more or less similar to the exfoliation or peeling of rocks. Let me give you an example. You might have seen calcium making kilns, where limestones are heated to a high temperature to change them into water soluble smaller fragments, lime or tuna. Limestone is not soluble in water and cannot be utilized for whitewashing the walls. However, lime or tuna is frequently used for whitewash. This breaking of calcium or calcite is due to the heat, due to the burning. You can see this is a lime kiln in our country and stones are burnt inside. This is forest fire. I copied it from Tribune. You can see forest fire and this natural situation is there. Thank you very much for listening. These are some of the books for further reading. Thank you.